Today I have another episode of Short Reviews for the weekend of September 9th, 2023. There were a lot of big releases this weekend, and every weekend in September, October will be like this. I already did 3 full reviews for the new ones from Dying Fetus, Sylosis, and Cryptopsy. There were still a lot of albums to talk about, so let me jump right into this. So one of the big ones this weekend was Ubiquitous from Puddle of Mud. This band gets a lot of hate because they have not been relevant since their first album. I like the first album, I still have it on CD. But after that first album, they started going downhill. This is in addition to Wes Scanlon releasing his now infamous cover of About a Girl by Nirvana. This band has always had a Nirvana influence, but I think they try too hard to sound like them on some of the songs, and then they just go in different directions with some of the others. The opening track was called My Baby. This was the first single. It's a song that tries too hard to be Nirvana, and Wes Scanlon's vocals sound a little strained. Dance With Me starts with the line, come on, come on, come on. Sounds a lot like Smells Like Teen Spirit when they say the hello, hello. And then Cash and Cobain sounds like Kid Rock with a country rap rock sound. Butterface sounds like some post-punk song from the 80s. Candy is a piano ballad, which is maybe one of the better songs, even though the vocals seem processed. The rest of the album is a mix of Nirvana-sounding songs. The last song is called Poke My Eyes Out, or Poke Out My Eyes. And I know that title has a joke in itself. Oddly, I think that song was one of the better ones. I give this one a 5 out of 10. I will continue to listen to it just to see if I find anything redeeming about it, but I don't think so. Next is Saliva with Revelation, and this is another band that has been compared to Nirvana at times and has also been part of the new metal scene. They're known for the song Click Click Boom, and they've had a few other popular songs. I don't really remember them that much. This was a band I used to like. I never bought any of their albums, but I have listened to a few of them on streaming. This is one of those bands like Papa Roach. They were big in the early 2000s, but I don't think their music has aged well. And this new album, it's okay. It was better than the Puddle of Mud album, but nothing too memorable. The opening track, Come Back Stronger, sounds like classic new metal from the early 2000s. The song is energetic and not too bad. Die Before You Fly has in the intro that sounds like metalcore. It has some electronic sounding guitar riffs. The third track, Crows, sounded a little like a 9 Inch Nails with more of an industrial sound. The chorus was kind of catchy, but that was all the song had going for it. Track number 6 was not too bad. It had more of a classic sound, and I think it is a song I can get into a little. I Belong was one of those ballads, and this, a typical one that the band has been known for. This was another song that was not too bad. I don't know about this one. I didn't like it that much on the first listen. After the second listen, it got a little better. I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10 for now, but it has the potential to go up in the next few weeks. Next is Richter und Henker by Oomph. This is a band that sounds like Rammstein because it's part of the same metal genre called New Deutsche Art. This band came before Rammstein, and Rammstein was actually influenced by them. This band has been around since the early 90s, and they have a total of 14 albums. The music is all in German. It's not too bad. It sounds like what you would expect. The singer has a baritone style. They are heavy thrash metal style guitar riffs and a lot of keyboards creating sound textures. I like the song Richter und Henker. That's the title track. I like the acoustic guitar intro in that song. I like how it transitions into a heavier song. Soll das Liebe sein had more of a brighter sound with the keyboards being in the forefront and heavy guitars pushed back in the mix. This one had more of a new wave type of sound, and I like the song Nicht wird mehr gut. This was track number 6. It was just a darker and heavier song with some interesting guitar riffs. I will be honest, I do not know this band very well. I'm interested in listening to them some more. I'm a big Rammstein fan, and they are very similar, or at least to my ears they are. Maybe a native German speaker could be able to distinguish the difference in the sound between the two bands. But for me, it's hard not to compare them to Rammstein. With that being said, this was pretty good. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Next is George Lynch with Guitars at the End of the World. For those of you who did not know, George Lynch was the guitarist for the band Dokken, and then later he formed another band called the Lynch Mob. Now he has an instrumental album. This is the second one. I remember he released one last year that I never listened to or reviewed, but I'm glad I got a chance to listen to this one because it is pretty good. I've been a fan of George Lynch for a while now. I remember years ago I bought the Dokken Live album called Beast from the East, and that one had Mr. Scary. That's one of my favorite instrumentals from that time period. This one is good. I guess I could compare it to a typical guitar instrumental album, something similar to Joe Satriani. I like the fact he goes through different styles. Some are very heavy, some are melodic. One thing about instrumental albums is that sometimes they just want to show how much they can shred or how technical or fast they can be, but George Lynch likes to write songs that have melody. Some songs have texture, some have atmosphere. He goes through different styles. Some are heavy, some are blues, some are rock, some are other stuff. Let me mention a few key tracks. Track number 2, Psycho Beta, is a hard rock or heavy metal track, probably reminiscent of the music he used to play with Dokken, in instrumental form that is. Borracho Boogie Deluxe is a very Van Halen-esque type of song with lots of guitar acrobatics and, as the name suggests, a boogie type of sound. And The Wolf is a slower blues track that gives the album a change of pace. I enjoyed this one. I will give it an 8 out of 10. Next is the band Kvelertak or I don't know how to pronounce it. The album is called Endling. They're a Norwegian band. The name means stranglehold in Norwegian. The songs are also in the Norwegian language. Hard band to describe. They're listed as black and roll or hardcore punk. For me, it's a mix of punk rock and black metal. And there's some other influences there as well. I've actually always thought that punk and black mix was always called crust punk, but I guess you can call it that as well. The band has an underground following. Supposedly James Hetfield is a fan of this band. I went into it without ever listening to this band before. I was kind of surprised. It was pretty cool because what's weird, I'm not a big fan of punk rock. I'm not a big black metal fan, but when you put them together, they seem to make sense, kind of like a peanut butter and chocolate type of thing. I'm not going to say any song titles because I won't be able to pronounce them, but let me mention a few tracks. Track number 2 starts off like a traditional black metal song with the typical chords and blast beats of a black metal song, but the song is also melodic, has more of a structure of a rock and roll song. Track number 4 sounds like traditional heavy metal or maybe something like Motorhead. Track number 6 had a pretty cool 80s post-punk type of sound, mixed with some typical black metal. This one was interesting. It was different. It was unique. I recommend it. My score is 7.5 out of 10. Next is the band Uada with Crepuscule and Natura. Another one I can't pronounce is Crepuscule Natura. I don't know how to say it. It's melodic black metal. And I thought it was pretty good because it has the typical sound of black metal with the tremolo picking, the blast beats, the harsh vocals, but when you listen to the guitar, it really stands out. I think some of the guitar riffs remind me of like Iron Maiden, like those types of melodic guitar riffs. The album has 5 songs. It's 41 minutes. The songs are in the 6 to 7 minute range, with the last song being 12 minutes. This would probably be a good gateway black metal band for those of you who are unfamiliar with the genre. It's a little more accessible and melodic than other bands within this genre. The vocals are very low, not easy to understand. They serve more as an instrument and are used for like sound textures. I think the guitar really stands out in these songs. I think if you're a black metal fan, you might think this is an awesome album. For me, it's just good. I give this an 8 out of 10. Next is Biocancer with Revengeance. This is a thrash metal band from Greece. They are fairly new on the scene. Their first full-length album was released in 2012, and this is their 3rd full-length album. I really like this band. I think this is thrash metal, but it's more on the extreme side of thrash. I would compare them to bands that are closer to like thrash or death. A good example would be like Creator or other bands, maybe like Demolition Hammer, like the heavier thrash bands. It's pretty good. It's heavy. The songs are fast-paced. The vocals are harsh. I'll talk about a few tracks. The opening track is called Citizen Down, more of a traditional thrash metal song. It has the heavy guitar riffs, the melodic leads. It's more along the lines of like a Megadeth type of song. Then there's track number 3 called Footprints on My Back, and this is a little heavier. I think they put a little more grit into the sound, and there's a lot more aggression going on here. The last song on the album is called Bludgeoning Skull Crushing Mayhem. This was an interesting song because it was a little slower and heavier than some of the other songs, and I know the song actually did get faster as it got toward the middle of the song. But I think this song is a good example of how they don't always have to move at breakneck speed at times. I think, they're not afraid to slow it down at times. So I thought it was really good. I enjoyed this one. My score is an 8.5 out of 10. Now for something completely different. This was requested by someone, and those of you know, I am willing to review pop music, and every now and then I do it. So it's the second album by Olivia Rodrigo called Guts, which is all in caps for some reason. She's from the Disney Channel. Years ago, she was in High School Musical TV series. She's young. She's only 20 years old. She sings pop music. This is her second album. Her first album was called Sour. I remember there was a lot of buzz around that album. I even remember there was another metal channel, you probably know, A Pair of Jeans Reviews. He reviewed the first Olivia Rodrigo album, and I remember he liked it a lot. I didn't listen to that first album, but for me, the second album, it's not too bad. I like the fact it has a little bit more of a rock sound on some of the songs. It's not just like an R&B type of album like many other pop artists from the Disney Corporation. It's most of the songs she writes about are about relationships and all the problems she's going through. She's going through her party girl phase. She curses a lot. And what's funny is that I think like Miley Cyrus, who I reviewed her album earlier this year, she's from that same Disney background, and Miley is like a lot more mature than her. So Olivia's lyrics are about her breaking up with boyfriends and hooking up with different guys. And there's one song when she talks about how she wants to get back with her boyfriend, and she wants to kiss him with an uppercut. And he wants to meet his mother, and tell her she has a horrible son. And I'm reading the comment section. All these young girls are commenting like, "Oh, you go, girl. That's awesome," in the comments, and it's kind of weird. But apart from that, it's not too bad. I would say it's like Taylor Swift, a little bit of Avril Lavigne mixed in. Some of the songs have that more rock and pop punk type of sound. Some songs are slower ballads. Her voice is very good. She has like a folk rock singer voice where it can be very soft at times, and other times she does more rapping. Other times she can sing, in like a harder style. So she is very talented. It's probably a guilty pleasure type of album. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's my like metalhead score for this. But if you're a pop fan, I think you might rank it higher or score it higher.